Welcome to the Business Bites Podcast, the podcast for busy entrepreneurs. Whether you're an online entrepreneur or seeking after brick and mortar success, this podcast brings you quick bites of content so you can learn and grow anywhere you are. Now here's your host, Rachel Brainke.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Business Bites Podcast. I am your host, Rachel Brainke, and today I am joined with someone who is an expert on multitasking, and she is going to share with us how to incorporate information learned from a workshop or course. So Rhonda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm excited. I love your bio. We're kind of similar in the sense that we have multiple children, we have multiple dogs, and, we both just love productivity and business. Guys, she is the person that you guys need to go to if you need help with productivity, business growth, helping female entrepreneurs specifically, if you're looking to scale your business to suit the season of life that you're in. And as you guys know from listening to me throughout the years, that I'm all about fitting business into life and not your life into your business. Rhonda teaches the skills and strategies that she personally used to build multiple six-figure seasonal events while all homeschooling her 4 children. She coaches other women entrepreneurs to thrive in both business and life. If that's not enough, she is also the co-founder of Savvy Tech, a tech tutorial membership for service providers. So Rhonda, let's just kick right off. Let's tell the audience a bit about your background and your path to entrepreneurship.
Well, I think I'm just tired listening to everything.
That's what you do. I know. I'm the same way when I'm interviewed.
So about 15 years ago, I was working a pressure cooker corporate job. I was a pharmaceutical rep, and I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and an opportunity presented itself, and I jumped and never looked back. And so, yes, I have a seasonal event that really, within about 8 days total in the year, generates multiple 6 figures and serves thousands and thousands of families. And really, I have learned everything about multitasking, about business, email marketing, you name it, by running this event.
And it's almost like a baptism by fire, right? I feel like we always feel we're ready and know how to multitask until we take on a new opportunity. And then you're like, well, I got to figure it out now.
Absolutely. Take on a new opportunity and have another baby. I think I hear a lot of times female entrepreneurs, they're like pregnant and they're launching a business simultaneously. So, one of the biggest things, and I think that you said in kind of my intro to kind of fit my season of life, that season of life has transitioned over the past 15 years. What I could do before with my business looks very different today. I actually don't even run my event. I have implemented systems and strategies where I have someone else that runs my event. And the reason I had to, we're a military family. And it got to the point where my husband was in a deployment and I couldn't do everything. I just had to give myself permission to say, okay, if we're going to continue on, this is the way it's going to have to be. And this is how we're going to have to move forward with it. And really, for me, being home with my family was really, it was crucial, it was critical. So absolutely.
You're totally singing my song. I come from a military spouse background as well. I have 5 children, and also being multi-passionate and wanting to do multiple different brands and things, I can always be stretched thin, and it's all about figuring out how to be the most efficient, the most productive. But one of the other things that I also realized during my path of figuring all this out was that I didn't just have to figure it out, that I could look to other people and learn from them instead of trying to reinvent the wheel myself, because I'm super hard-headed and have a tendency to do that. But oftentimes I find that many entrepreneurs, they'll take a workshop or a course or download an ebook, and they kind of learn the information, but then they don't really know to how incorporate that information into their specific situation, which is why I wanted to bring you on. Mm-hmm. And just an FYI, guys, you guys can check out Rhonda's stuff at businessplanofAction.com. She's going to have a monthly checklist to help with this, everything we're going to talk about. If you go to businessplanofAction.com/business bites, but I'm also going to link all this in the show notes at rachelbrainke.com as well. All right. So getting right back on task. So I guess my big question for you is what keeps many female entrepreneurs from implementing the information that we learn through courses or from others that are doing the same things?
Well, I think one of like the biggest things is that we purchase courses or we're a part of masterminds and we go through all of the information. And honest to goodness, I think we're paralyzed by fear of failure, that if we don't achieve the same success that the person that we are working with or the course that we have purchased, then we're a failure. Or if we don't implement step by step by step, then we have failed. And we just don't allow ourselves permission to let it be fluid and make those changes and just know that everything that works for someone else may not work for us. It's a great framework. It's a great platform to jump off of, strategies that we can use, but give yourself permission to take another path if you need to, if that's where your audience or if that's where your business is going.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. I'm glad you said that because I see a lot of people sell formulas and techniques and all of that. And just like you, I've seen many entrepreneurs, and I've not just seen this. It's happened to myself as well. I think I've got to do this formula or these steps to a T to make sure that, that it works, that I give it a valiant effort. But oftentimes they become blinded to doing it within the confines of their business, of who they're trying to talk to. So it's almost like putting on a costume and then the audience going, what is going on here? I'm confused. Why are you all of a sudden acting X, Y, and Z? And this could be maybe by using swipe copy from someone when it's not your voice, or just, pivoting in your whole social media strategy, and your ideal clients go, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But like you said it right there, it was this fear of failing with it. So people often fall into doing exactly what they're supposed to do, or they're not able to figure out how to apply it. So what would you recommend for them to get past the fear of taking that information and how to really truly apply it to their business so it works with their business and helps move them forward, as opposed to being kind of a kink in the road?
Well, okay. So the way that I look at it and the way that I coach some of the folks that I actually work with is, number one, I think when we started the interview today, we talked about season of life. You really have to be so just in tune with your schedule. You need to take an inventory of your schedule. We all have the same 168 hours a week to work with. For whatever reason, we get in the car, we pop on a podcast, it's nirvana, we have 1,000 hours, we can do everything. And it's not realistic. So I think from the get-go, we almost try to set ourselves up for failure. And in doing so, when we know that schedule, when we know that season of life that we're in, I recommend doing the one in, one out. If we're taking something on, we've got to give something else up. Unfortunately, the myth buster is we cannot do it all. As women, as wives, as mothers, we can't do it all. So, taking something on and giving something up. The other thing that I think is so important is the goal. There was a reason why you purchased this course. There was a reason why you're a part of this mastermind. But what is your specific goal? And you really, along kind of with this inventory of schedule, you need to break it down. We need to break it down into quarters, monthly, weekly, and daily, so we can actually attain it. We're not attaining the goal of the person that we bought into in terms of buying their course. And then finally, we need to schedule it. With my event, with the people that I work with my membership, with my children, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. We all need deadlines. And I think that, one of the things that we don't do with courses that we purchase is that, do a check-in with that deadline and see, did I reach that goal? If I didn't reach the goal that I wanted for myself, not what someone else achieved, what can I do? What steps can I take to make some changes to get the outcome that I'm looking for? So those are really, it's hard, and it has taken me 15 years to do this with myself, with my business. It starts out being realistic with your schedule, and focusing on your goal.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I love? Everything that Rhonda's just said, you guys have heard me say in past episodes. It's almost like I fed it to her. I promise I didn't. I heard it herself. But it's funny is because that's where the Business Bites, this podcast came out of. It was this idea of we only have a certain amount of hours per day. Education's still important, but I wanted to be able to get information into people's hands quickly and easily. So that's why we have like 10, 15-minute episodes. And I even kicked off the entire podcast with episode 1. It's called Filling the Rocks First. And it's essentially everything that you just said. It's putting in the season of life and the circumstances and the priorities that I have first into this vase, because the vase is my time. We all have the same amount of time, but I take these rocks that are the most important things to me and I put those first. And, if I specifically am taking a course to be a pivotal change in my business, that might become a rock at that time. Typically, I find the rocks to be only like family, personal goals, etc. But sometimes it can be something that's might be earth-shaking, ground-shattering for your business and something that you need to make a priority for. And I put all of that into the vase first. I put that all on the calendar first. Then everything else is kind of the sand that fills around it. Because if I put the sand first, the rocks are not going to fit into the vase. And so the same thing like you just said, putting it into priorities, scheduling everything. And when it comes to these courses, just like you said, you bought it for a reason. And what was the goal for that? And oftentimes people go through the course, like you said, and then they don't achieve that goal and they kind of just give up. But then I've seen others who don't even go through the course at all. So taking it a step back, they don't even schedule the time to go through the courses and wondering why they're not achieving the results. As an educator myself with my own online courses, I find that many will get flustered because they bought into this idea of an end result, but then come to find out they're not actually taking the steps to even go through the course. It's almost like there's this impulse, I'm going to get a magic bullet. And then they're like, then there's no results because they haven't put in the effort for it. So when you get a course and all of that, I recommend especially if the instructor has not outlined a specific schedule, I always give a recommendation to my students. But if they have not given you a recommended schedule it yourself. Sit down and make it purposeful. If it's that rock that's going to help change your business, make sure that it goes on the calendar, that it's non-negotiable, that you get it done. Because you can't even get to the next steps of applying it if you haven't even gone through the course. And Rhonda, I'm sure you've seen that with many, that they just buy and buy and buy education and don't actually do the education.
Well, I think that, when we're looking at courses, we've gotten so good with copywriting that it's almost like a high. I mean, we go through, we're reading, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's reading my mind. This is exactly what I need. You almost need that cooling off, that 24-hour cooling off period. And I have even reached out, use that sales page, use those testimonials, reach out to people. They're more than happy to talk to you. Reach out and say, this is where I am in my business. This is what I'm thinking about for this course. Do you feel like it's a good match? Because you've gone through it.
I love when students do that. I love that.
Absolutely. Because I just got off the phone with someone the other day and they're purchasing all these courses, but they don't have any direction. They're so overwhelmed with information, they cannot take action. They can't even see it. So absolutely. Yeah, definitely use that sales page to your advantage. Definitely use a cooling off period because copywriters are good. Those sales pages are good.
Well, and for me too, it's like I'm not looking for a magic bullet necessarily, but I definitely value people's experience and being able to package it all for me because it's taken me years to get to this point, but yes. I definitely will put my money where my time is. And if they can get me the high level view and then give me the information that I need, I'm willing to pay for that. And so even when I take courses still, I'll reach out and I'll say, this is where I'm at in my business. Does this serve me? And there's so many on the market that don't serve those that have been in business for a while. I have saved myself a lot of time, money, and heartache by just reaching out and saying, hey, do you think this would suit me? And they would say no, or they would say maybe only X, Y, and Z out of the course. And I love the honesty of the educators that do that. But anyways, that kind of just went off the path a little bit. But I guess, we're talking about getting these courses. What are the steps? So we talked about buying. Mm-hmm. What are the steps once they buy it? I mean, how important would it be for these students to have a plan or checklist before actually attending, whether it's an in-person workshop, an event, or an online event, how important is it for them to have a plan or checklist in order?
Well, absolutely. They have to have it. I mean, they've sought out a specific course, right, for something specific in their business. Hopefully, that is why they've purchased, or that is why they're going to a networking event. And you have to have, in order to, even for me, in making that buying decision, what is going to be that return on investment, whether it's more email subscribers, whether it's more coaching clients, whether it's more people in my membership. If I'm going to purchase something, what is it that I'm going to get out of that thing? What work can I have? Again, season of life. Where am I? Am I at the height of school with kids? Where am I realistically going to be able to do this? So I think, taking an inventory of the schedule, taking something else off of your plate, specific goal, and then, like I said before, scheduling it. So I think that, but kind of circling back, I think that return on investment, what is that return on investment for you? What does that mean for you when you're thinking about purchasing a course or going to a networking event?
Well, and talking about the whole season of life thing, there's so many courses now that are open cart, closed cart, because we know that it works, right? But it may not fit to your season. And I've made exceptions for people who've wanted to enroll in my courses before they were evergreen. I've made exceptions when they would say, I really want this, but it is just so slammed right now. Either can I purchase it now, or can I put a down payment, or can I do it later? And depending on how invested I felt they were, and how much I thought they were going to really benefit from the course, I've allowed students to be able to come in, excuse me, at a different time, just because the fact that they came to me and said this, they recognized and were humbled about it and said, this is my season, I'm not going to be able to commit to it.
Right.
I much prefer that than those that get in and then decide, oh, this is too much right now and I want my money back.
Absolutely.
Because they didn't take their own self-qualification and stock of their own situation.
Right. I think that we get into this, it's this course high. If you're following someone and you love their content and, you have taken all the free stuff, you've listened to all the podcasts and you're on board and ready to go, you really need to stop and just take an inventory to see where you are and how all of this is going to fit in, because you're not being fair to yourself and you're not being fair to that course provider, because they're giving you 110%, right? Just like what you were saying. But if you get in there and you're like, oh, this is way too much, you knew what you were getting into before you even entered into that course. And it's not fair to either one, because, even as a course provider, as someone who sells courses, I want you to be successful. I don't want you just to buy for me to make money. I want you to be successful. It's not going to do either one of us any good if you get in there, you're overwhelmed, and you ask for a refund, because neither one of us have a good experience at that point.
And I get discouraged not because of these students are like, oh, I just don't have time, I want a refund. I get discouraged because I see potential in them, and there was a reason that they bought into it. There was a reason, and there's needs that they need to be met.
Yeah.
And it's just bridging that gap, like we've talked about, figuring out, make sure that it's going to reach the goal, taking stock of whether or not, if you've gone through it all, if it is reaching your goal, or what steps do you need to take. And even before buying in, just asking the questions. I think a lot of times people also self-qualify themselves. They may not think they need a certain topic matter and self-qualifies them out of it, when in reality, maybe that content was provided within the course that they truly needed. And that just circles back around to me is, talk to these course providers, reach out to their team, reach out to them, because their sales page and the description of the course is going to be whatever's going to serve the majority. And you might be one of the outliers, but there may be some nuggets in that course that you're absolutely going to be able to take away and revolutionize. I took a course last year that I even emailed and said, I don't know if this is for me. And they honestly said that 97% of this course is that you've already gone on lockdown. We looked at your social media and all of this, but there are portions that we feel will really help you. And they were right. And it was only like 3 to 5% of the course really truly helped me. But because I had great value of that, and I took the steps to reach out and let them know where I was at, I felt really good, even though only 3%, giving them the money. Like, I was totally cool spending the money for 3% because they were honest about it and they truly fulfilled what they were saying, and I got great value from it as well. So don't self-qualify yourself out. Also, if you see because sales copy is written to reach the general masses. You may be one of the outliers who just needs a little bit of a push. And I guess, Rhonda, what would you do though if someone's listening and they're like, I know I need help, but I'm overwhelmed by all these courses out here. I don't even know where to begin on getting help. I don't even know where to begin on picking a course. What would you recommend to them?
Well, it depends, I think, on where they are in their business. And I think this was a struggle that I had. I had the luxury with my seasonal event to have 6 months of planning. And so I could focus just on one thing at a time and get really, really good at it. Just micromanage it down to the 9th degree. When I transitioned online, you're just bombarded, just like you said. I mean, it's like, let's be everywhere. Let's be on social. Oh, you've got to get good blogging content. You've got to do Facebook Live. You've got to do email marketing. You have to have all of these things. I think you just have to say, okay, where are you in your business? What systems do you have down that are really, really good? I mean, you are consistent with them. You do them every week, and you have these things that are automated. Okay, so now we go on to the next part of the checklist. What is our goal? And we're not like, let's not go, what's our goal for the year? I want to break it down into quarters. What are we specifically, at the end of 3 months, what do I want to see? And then from there, I will break it down into, what do we need to do this month? What do we need to do this week? What do we need to do today? And you just have to give yourself grace, and you just do one thing at a time. I always say, and this is someone else's quote, but never compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Someone who's been in business for 10 or 15 years, they have a wealth of information versus someone who is just starting out. Look at those people, absorb their content, use their content, but focus on just one thing at a time and give yourself grace about it. I wish, making that transition online, that I would have done that. I would have been a whole lot less stressed had I done that, instead of just piling it up on my plate. Okay, I'm on Pinterest. Now I'm on Facebook. Okay, now I'm blogging every single week. Okay, now I'm doing stuff to get my, get my email going. So I would focus solely, one, where are you in your business? Number two, where do you want to see yourself in 3 months? And just to focus on that. Even if Susie over here, she's got a great strategy that she has used and it's working for her. That is a shiny object. That is someone saying, squirrel, put it on a squirrel board and keep moving in the direction that you need to go to accomplish that goal in 3 months.
And that's a really good point. I love the squirrel board because I kind of have a pin. I just call it a pin board. Yeah, that I'll put stuff there for later. But I'm like you. I get a little shiny object over here. Oh, I want to try that person's thing. And the only thing that truly keeps me grounded is when I think about the person that I'm supposed to be talking to, the audience member that I want to consume whatever it is I put out. And I talk about it in episode 12. You guys can find it at rachelbranke.com/EPI 12. 12, the numbers. And I named the person, her name is Ava the avatar. She is the client avatar that I'm wanting to search and reach and talk to and give this information to. So before I post anything, before I engage in a course, before I hire a coach, I ask myself, am I going to get a benefit out of this that's going to serve Ava? And if it's not, then it's probably not the strategy ebook that I need to buy. If Ava's not sitting on Snapchat, I don't need to be worrying about Snapchat, know. And that's digging down into also recognizing my limits, like you said, but digging down into really where is the person that I'm trying to reach. And I know that's very difficult in the very beginning, especially if you're just trying to reach anybody. You haven't gotten really clear on who it is that you want to talk to. It's very difficult. I encourage you guys to listen to that episode. You can definitely go through the entire process that I walk through with my consulting clients of how to really answer the questions to get a lot more specific, but there's no magic bullet for that either. I feel like mine ever changes over the years. It ebbs and flows based on technology. We had changes from Facebook to Instagram and et cetera. So yes, being flexible but also recognizing you don't need to take all of them. You don't need to take every course out there either. So let's shift here real quick though. What are some best tips for incorporating the information that they do learn? So let's say they get into a course and, these are some really good nuggets, but they're overwhelmed already by trying to get just deal with the day-to-day processes, what are some tips for incorporating this new information that they've learned into their business?
I think we just need to go one piece at a time. I think that to have a rock solid business, to have a rock solid foundation, you have to have some initial systems in place. However, you're reaching Ava. So if you're blogging and you're writing content, you need to have that system in place, and it needs to be documented somewhere. And you need to go through those steps. That is going to create a consistent product for Ava. And so now, maybe you're adding video, and you're just adding one piece. You do not have to add everything all at once, because you need to incorporate that into your system. I think by having systems in place that you're able to, number one, you're able to automate. Then you're able to delegate when you're ready to start delegating. And then you can start incorporating some of this new content, new information that you're learning to ultimately grow or scale your business.
And what is something that you learned, so you, Rhonda, that you learned that you wish you had incorporated or implemented sooner? Maybe you got it from a course, or you just saw someone else doing something and you kind of resisted adopting it, but then you loved it once you did it.
Delegation. I waited too long to delegate in my business. And when I did, the amazing thing that happened was that person that I delegated to was able to focus with their skill set just on one area. And when I did, my business exploded. And it allowed me then to take the helicopter view and look at my business and see, okay, what is the next step? How can I build this thing? Where do I need to go? And then, of course, I would work the system. I would create the system. And then I would delegate again. And I think about delegation, though, too, in terms of just focusing on one area. So, for example, when we're talking about social media, I'm not talking about one person managing all social platforms. I'm talking about one person just doing Facebook. I'm talking about one person just doing Pinterest, or one person just working on content, because that's their area of expertise. When you pass on a system, when you delegate, they're going to take, it's almost like an expectation. Here are the steps that I take that produces the content or produces the product that I give to my audience. They're going to look at that, and they're going to be able to take that and take it to new heights. And by starting systems, you can start systems from the first day you're in business and just build upon those. And by doing that, when you're ready to delegate, it's not going to be like a fire drill and you're hurrying to really quickly put everything together to give to that person. You're creating more work for yourself. By going ahead and creating the systems and building upon them, it's very easy to make that transition. Because even, when you start to delegate in your business, it's scary. It's scary, sharing your personal information about your baby, that you're growing, sharing passwords. This is the way I do it, that sort of thing. So
well, the good thing is I have documents on rachelbrinky.com that people can use to kind of help legally protect themselves and safeguard a lot of that. Shameless.
That was a perfect segue. I loved how that worked.
Right. Well, what's funny is the delegation thing has been a big thing for me. I learned the very hard way, and I still have to force myself when I'm looking to find a new team member. I learned the hard way that you can't shove a whole bunch of stuff into one person. Like, if you want it to be done good and want it to be done correctly and efficiently, like you were saying, one person for Facebook, one person for email, one person for graphic design, or whatever it is, however you sparse it out. I mean, you may be able to find someone out there that can do it all, but the reality is it's easier and more efficient to break it out. And yes, that does require a lot more management and oversight, but at the end of the day, you're able to expand your hours. We circling back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this, many of us listening are busy moms, busy entrepreneurs, and we all only have the 24 hours a day. So the only way to maximize it is by having others to help you do it. And if you're in a situation where you've learned this stuff from a course, or you are ready to go on a new process, but you just haven't been able to get to that next step of implementation or adjusting and pivoting, and you're feeling frustrated, it's probably because you need more hours. And it's probably because you need more hands to help you get those hours. So that was a bit of a departure from what we were talking about courses stuff, but it is good because delegation really is one of the steps that you guys can get there. And you know what? I've also done delegation with courses in education before. I've told my team members, this is the type of information I'm looking for. I'm going to purchase courses, which of course I did this only with the permission of the course instructors and facilitators. I would ask if I could purchase a team access or something because I'm not going to give it, most of the time it's outside of terms to be able to purchase it and give it to someone else. Obviously we don't want to do that, but I've even done that with courses. I've delegated saying, I need to find this right information. Help me find. This is the perspective I have. My team knows my view and what I'm trying to accomplish. Now let's go find the strategies and ways to implement it. And they'll go through these courses. We'll purchase them, use them inside the company, and then they'll be able to bring those nuggets to the table and we kind of do a whole team learning together. It's been a while since we've done that. As I'm talking this out, I really need to adopt this a bit more, but that's another way you guys could also delegate your learning. I don't completely suggest it because I still think there's something to be said for going through the processes and touching everything and learning it yourself before turning around to delegate it to someone else. So, well, Rhonda, thank you so much for these tips. I think this is great information, great steps for the audience members to take because there's courses everywhere. We want to buy in. And once we buy, people are like, oh, I don't know what to do now. So you've greatly cleared up some great steps of how to decide to buy, how to implement what they've learned, and how to actually learn within the course. So let's leave them again with where they can find you. Correct me if I'm wrong, businessplanofAction.com. And they can also find you on Facebook as Strategy Mama, MAMA. And I'm going to link all of this in the show notes for you guys as well. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. You can also jump into the Facebook group, The Business Bites, and be sure to head over to iTunes. If you are not sitting there already, leave a review. Would love to be able to see that so other entrepreneurs can have the podcast served up to them so they can get going on learning business one bite at a time as well.
Thanks for joining Rachel on this episode of The Business Bites. For show notes, a list of recommended tools, or referenced episodes, you can find them at businessbitespodcast.com. Until next time.